India's aviation industry is considered one of the fastest growing in the world, along with China, and those two countries are expected to contribute to much of the world's aviation industry growth in the years to come. However, India's aviation market is also proven to be one of the most challenging business-wise, as some of the airlines have experienced some financial difficulties. Among the prime examples of this is the cessation of operations by Jet Airways, that was the second largest airline of India until it ceased operations earlier this spring. The other major airline that has experienced so many difficulties in the last decade is Air India, the national flag carrier of the country, which has been affected by a myriad of challenges and struggle from the growing competition among Indian carriers in the last few decades. But more significantly, Air India has been operating with a large amount of debt as it struggles to compete with the other emerging private airlines in the country. To understand the financial state of Air India, we have to take a brief look at the history of the airline. Since the 1950s, Air India has been a 100% government-run entity, and while talks of privatization has been started since the early 2000s, the airline has been operating with a large amount of debt, where in 2006 and 2007, the amount was estimated to be around over 7 billion rupees, and the amount of debt owed by Air India has grown to a larger amount since then, at around over 500 billion rupees. Among the major issues that have been brought up that have contributed to this was the large orders of aircraft the airline took in those years, and a merger with Indian Airlines in 2007. These problems, along with growing competition from the likes of SpiceJet, Jet Airways, and Indigo, has further exacerbated the problems of Air India's services, as the airline has been struggling to maintain its aircraft and staff, including pilots who have since left for other airlines. This has further tarnished the reputation of Air India, where some have criticized its services and in-flight experience. A quick check on rating sites such as TripAdvisor and Skytrax will yield a mixed reviews of the airline, and some of the complaints that have been made by the travelers on those sites are a symptom of the much larger problems of the Air India company. Within the decade, the airline has been looking for ways to improve its financial situation, and in 2009, the State Bank of India directed the airline to sell some of its older aircraft, including Airbus A300s and a Boeing 747. This would not be the first time the airline sold old aircraft, as it did more so in 2013 when it sold Boeing 777s to Etihad Airways. These efforts are just a small part of the overall strategy. The airline continues to receive government financial support, as in 2013 the Indian government has put in around 300 billion rupees that will be given to the airline between the years 2013 to 2021. Now, India's government has been attempting to sell the airline, and it made a first attempt in 2018, selling a 76% stake in the airline. That initial attempt attracted no bidders, so the airline continues to remain with the government of India, and experts have attributed it to the large amount of debt as well as the 24% being retained by the government. So this year, in 2019, the Indian government is trying again to sell the airline. In an effort to alleviate the debt of the Air India company, the government created a special entity called Air India Asset Holdings in early January of this year, which would take about 50% of the debt of the airline. And Air India has imposed a hiring and promotion freeze. In an effort to find a buyer for the airline by the end of the year, the government of India is mounting a roadshow and to pitch the sale of the airline to individual investors. The sale process would also leave the door open for a potential foreign investor to purchase a stake in the airline. However, unlike an Indian company, the foreign group or buyer would have to find a partner in India to maintain at most a 49% ownership of the airline. Air India is one of the handful of airlines in the world that are still fully or majority owned by the government of their home country. An airline that once thrived in the era of flag carriers but has since met intense competition from local and foreign airlines that traverse the Pacific and the Atlantic. What are your thoughts on the attempts of the Indian government to sell Air India, and would this second attempt with a more concerted effort and restructuring work for this time around? This has been another edition of Flights in Asia, highlighting the news and updates from the aviation and travel industry from the Asia Pacific. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for watching, and have a great day.